Welcome to the Lighthouse Experiment, a Freedom Center Church podcast.
That's the idea.
I love that. It's a little distracting, but it's great. I love it. It's great. Well, welcome back to the Lighthouse Experiment Podcast. This week we're taking it on the road. We're winging it. So we're coming from Freedom Center Church in Michigan, and they have Explore Camp going on this week, which is their version of VBS. So kids are outside playing, the whole program's running and stuff, so we decided to be on the grounds and do our episode here
Why
tonight.
not?
Yeah.
So, here we are, what we got this week. Other than that, I know they're doing part of the, what do you call it?
Oh,
offering,
the offering, donations.
Snacks.
Yep.
Snacks.
To Lighthouse Experiment. And then the other stuff is going to Claire's Hope. I think they've got stuff for Claire's Hope.
Absolutely.
And so basically what they do each year is they have the girls versus guys. And it's a big, like, whoever brings the most items. And it's a big, I don't know if they win a prize at the end of the week or something.
Candy
or something.
I think the winning group gets a candy, like big candy bars.
Okay.
And I think how's it go? I think somebody gets smacked in the face with a shaving cream.
Ooh. They did do that last time.
If I'm not mistaken.
I wonder which leaders, how they split it up.
I can't remember.
I don't know.
Oh, the girl leader. What? Right? The girl leaders
I
get
think it's
smashed.
literally the girls versus the guys. Yeah, I think you're right.
So.
Yeah. That's good. This week I'm driving to Florida with 4 kids.
That's dumb. But hey, good luck.
I'm wearing my Mackinac Island, Michigan shirt, just kind of representing my home state, Michigan babe. But no, it's all good. I have friends watch my kids.
Florida, so.
Nick sent me a screenshot today that said 97 degrees, but real feels 104. So at some point today it was like super hot.
And humid, man. Florida's no good. But hey, Good luck in Florida. So, I don't know. What do we want to talk about today?
I don't know. Do you want to talk about the stuff going on at the church? I mean, what are you, community?
We can talk about that. I mean, we can talk about it's good to take time, to take. Yeah. I think the reason I want to do this here is because kind of the illustration is that the macro, all the things happening around us, God controls that. We can control the micro, like our thoughts, our words, what we're doing, our actions. Which I just had an epiphany. We have Austin Blythe off camera here, our in-studio guest off camera.
Our live support audience tonight. I loved it. Live audience. I love it.
Yeah. But that answers the question you were asking me, is just that you can only control really what we're like, our thoughts and actions and stuff, and all the big stuff around us. Yeah. All the people that come in and out of the day to day. That's just what they do is on them. Even though you want to correct them, right? You sometimes want to shake somebody by the shoulders.
Yeah.
And say that the things that you perceive as bad isn't that bad. But also, not their fault.
Right.
I'll say it like this. I can remember when I went to Haiti the first time, there was, by that time, and I'm in my 40s when we first started coming to church here, and I've already been in the military and a paramedic for a long time. But we went on the first trip to Haiti, and coming back, there was a couple young guys. They were like, we got to Atlanta, and I went and got Chick-fil-A so I could eat it while I was in the Qdoba line. real talk. But they were like, I don't feel like I can ever eat again.
First world problems.
because we've been just in Haiti and they're starving. I'm like, live in the blessing that you were born here in this country. You know what I mean?
And there are modifications that you can make. I mean, I certainly do try to be less wasteful and consider certain things, but if I try to eat all the food on my plate just because, there's starving kids in Africa, the old saying, right? It's like me stuffing myself doesn't help another kid in the country. But if I modified my life in a way that I felt compelled to do something for somebody, another person, and that would beach tent that I was looking on, getting on Amazon, and it's it's got like an open kind of like almost mat that kind of lays out, and it just pops up and stuff. And I thought, well, I'll just wait until I get to Florida to get all that. Like, one less thing to buy and one less thing to pack. And I was talking to Josh Wiegand, Pastor Josh, on Sunday, and Lauren comes over. I'm telling him about, you know, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, oh my word, I bought one, and I can't return it because it's outside the window of returning. So she's on her phone looking it up. It's the exact same tent I was looking at getting.
Oh, nice.
So she put it on her front step and gave it to me. So, like, just stupid details. Right. And then last week, I dropped Kalina off at Mega to have dinner with a friend. And she was 7 minutes late getting there. So by the time I'm pulling out, just at that moment, Tracy Holcomb drives by and starts waving at me and like points for me to like pull over. I got to hug her one more time before she flew out to California.
Oh yeah.
Because I won't see her this week because I get home on Saturday.
Right.
So like just all those details, like God loves me so much that he let me hug my friend one more time because I won't see her for a minute. You know, like just all that stuff. Because 30 seconds earlier behind, I wouldn't have seen her.
Right.
You know, so coincidences like that and all those things, you know, it's amazing how we get to have a participation in all the things that go on in each other's lives. And then, I mean, even my feeling with that whole conversation in Austin was just like, it almost gets me emotional because I'm like, I get to do what I do. I get to go home and do all the normal things with my kids because somebody else answered the call to go do the 12-hour shift on the rig or in the cruiser, you know what I mean? Like, that's the stuff that now that I see more, I will never be in your shoes. I will never fully understand unless I put on the uniform and went through the training and did all the stuff. But now that I see a little bit more, it makes me emotional thinking about it, you know? And I've talked about it before too, just the idea that I don't see just the truck going down the road. Now I actually see that there's people, there's families, there's friends that are operating, you know, all that stuff. And somebody responded to my brother. Somebody was there in our family's crisis. Some sheriff had to wait at the neighbor's house until my parents got home to tell them what had happened. You know, like all that stuff. I just see it differently now.
I think for me, if I
jump in here if you want to.
Pop around,
It's like mom and dad.
Yeah, no, this is great.
No, I think for me, like because I came in as like a pre-med student not knowing, I was like, oh, you know, COVID's happening, might as well get my EMS license, they need help, and it was just kind of like this like casual thing. And then I do my training, whatever, and then I do my clinicals, and I'm like, whoa, like, this is not what I was expecting. Like, I knew on paper what you're doing, but like to see like the culture and to see like it firsthand, and I think the biggest thing for me is like, wow, like even growing up, my mom, ER nurse, and really for 10 years, hearing all the stories, and you like see it in real life, and you're like, holy crap, dude, I had my head in the sand for the last like 10 years. And so when I went in as like, oh, this is gonna be a fun little, you know, stepping stone, now it's like, oh my gosh, like there's such a disconnect between, like, at least from my perspective, pre-med kids who their dad's a doctor and they go to Ann Arbor and, you know, whatever, they live this like super amazing life that they are able to like easily go to medical school. And there's people that like literally have zero access to care and they call us for primary care services and they're like living in bed bugs and they have stuff all themselves, and it's just like
hoarders, all this stuff.
So it's just been like the biggest eye-opening thing, and as a like eventually future physician, to see the disconnect in our healthcare industry where it's like it's a huge problem that I didn't even realize that like how bad it really was. So like
it's crazy though, because people don't, you know, for one, EMS providers is we fall under the Department of Transportation.
Yeah, federally, which is crazy. We're not even a medical service technically, right?
Right. We're a transportation service, which is wild. But, you know, it's one of those things. And kind of because of that, in my practice, in my coming up, like nobody ever has considered themselves professional. Therefore, you know,
there's a little bit of that.
Generation after generation of, I mean, you see how people act and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And if, you know, I've always kind of said if you want to be treated like a professional, you got to act like that. You have to act elite. You have to act like there was. I think that somebody saw a post I made recently, and she didn't really understand what I was saying, so she was offended, and there were some questions asked. But I had shared that, I understand humility. I can do that. I have that skill.
Right.
But at the same time, if I called 911, I'd want me to show up.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to explain
is... But people call 911 and they ask, is Jim Parkin working?
Yes, that's true.
That's also actually happened.
Is Parkin on the rig today? Do you know?
That's crazy.
But I've seen that that was one of the things that stood out to me when I did my first ride along, was just the pace and the demeanor and all, like, there's so many layers that can go into patient care that isn't in the protocol.
Right.
Of actually treating somebody with humanity and dignity, and respect and all that stuff,
Right.
So.
I understand. I know the protocols actually very well. Therefore, I know how to shift them, kind of shape shift them to each particular patient.
I think the idea of EMS, I hear this all the time, and I've said it myself, but it's I just find it so untrue. EMS is a good stepping stone. Whatever stepping stone means, it's impressive that people can stay there long term and still have their sanity and can still
I agree.
For me, I'm 3-4 years max, and then I gotta I think a lot of it it brings up a lot of philosophical questions, at least for me. I'm on the rig, and then I'm I really feel this passion for medicine. I really want to go to medical school, and I really think this is where I feel I'm led to. But at the same time, it's and I feel this is God's plan for my life. But then you see, an overdose, or you see an arrest on somebody that's young, and it's man, does God really have a plan? Was it the plan for this 10-year-old to get ejected out of a car? Was that the plan for their life because their mom had a seizure?
Right.
It's then you kind of man, am I secure? And then you question your own safety, and you're oh man, now I'm super scared. I'm is this the right move? And then that's kind of
reminds me of what you shared with me yesterday.
I was just thinking,
who is that guy? I don't even know who that guy is.
I can't remember his name, but his organization's called Lions Not Sheep, and he's constantly little blurbs like that. But this dude, I'll send it to you later. But what this guy's talking about is being present in every single moment, in every relationship, every conversation, all of that, because you don't know, you don't know what's next. And at one point he said, we could be dead by dinner.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But and people have asked, I'm 52, why are you still on the road? Why aren't you doing administrative stuff? Why? Because I can. That's why I'm still on the road. But
also, I think it's for you, I think it's different, you leading other people doing it also.
Right.
You're not flying a desk telling everybody.
Right. It's different. I can't. I wouldn't be good at that job. But I just think that's important to kind of be able to have that mindset and be for you to be. You could do it. You probably never even thought of this, but you could go on any given night, on any given encounter night, or they don't call it that. Young adults. Any young adult service or any Sunday, and you could look around the room and you'd see the people that would take care of your wife, make sure if you had kids, they'd make sure your kids are going to be good. And that's how I can right now, I can look out over the field where everyone's playing, and I can see who, and why my family be secure. So therefore, I can just do every single shift fully and not worry about it. And then my wife, she doesn't, when she says it, it sounds crass, she doesn't care, but she doesn't worry on the day-to-day, if I'm going to come home, because she figures, why worry? What would be the point of, wasting her moments being present with her students or with our kids, worrying about what I got going on.
And that's the biggest thing. I feel they didn't, even in the EMS school, the operations part of it, and how many close calls, just merely driving on the road, like what's the percentage increase of like increased like likelihood of getting in even an accident, especially when you're running lights and you know.
It just happened to you recently, right?
It just happened to me on Saturday. I mean,
dude, it happened to me like 2 weeks ago.
I just about got wasted. I didn't get hit, but almost, man. We just.
Especially where we work, it's like even though it's clear, or even if you have a green, people are still going. It doesn't.
They're still going.
It's like the fact that I gotta slow down to like 10 miles an hour on a green light is like incredible.
It's crazy. But those lights, man, they scare people and they don't know what to do, so they make mistakes. But
they do.
Or they just aren't paying attention. But yeah, we were coming through an intersection going out towards, went into Burton or something. This lady just bombed right through, and it was whatever. Happens all the time. But you're right. All the close calls, you know. Times I've been. Oh, this is funny. So way back in the day, before Sarah Kern ever came on a ride along or anything, we were just kind of talking about it, and we would talk before and after service or whatever. And I was telling her about the day before, I went in this oldie's house in, I think, like Evergreen Regency, which is, I mean, most of our listeners know it's like Section 8 housing. It's a project. I go in there and just open the guy's door. I'm like, what's going on? And he took it as disrespectful, and he was sitting in his chair and like pulled his pistol out on me. I was like, you know, get out of my house. I'm like, okay. It was you're good, about face and left. Well, I'm telling Sarah, and then she goes and tells Carrie. Well, she's actually telling her mom, who's talking to Carrie. You know, he got a gun pulled out on him yesterday. And Carrie was like, who? Him? What? And then I got a little shade from my wife because I didn't mention it. But there's some things I just don't bring up.
You came home all intact.
I was good.
I would probably want to know that too.
Well, because there's usually, I tell Kelly usually almost every call, but there's like 2 or 3 calls that I just haven't told her about. And
and that's good. That's good discernment.
Yeah, but
to know the things you can and can't share.
It's like, who do you almost like confide? Like, it's like, I know what's really nice though, I feel like about at least the people we work with, is that if it's a crazy call, we're really good at, like, I feel like kind of leaning on your partner and just kind of talking about the call, what went well, what didn't go so well.
Yeah.
And this has been such a humbling experience for me. Like even in my EMS class, I was like, I graduated at the top of my class, and then I get on the road and I'm like, dude, I am a friggin' idiot. Like, I know, like there's some days where I'm like, man, I feel good. I think I got all my, like, I'm doing good. And there's like calls that like will throw you for a loop, and you're like, oh my gosh, I know nothing. And then it's just like this humbling like experience. And then
I feel like that's just life. You just have it on like 1,000% notch higher.
I was telling my partner the other day, and I was like, dude, I feel like I still have imposter syndrome. Like, yes, I did my training. Yes, I did well on my, you know, NREMT. I showed up to all my clinicals. I tried my best, but I'm wearing the uniform. I'm in the rig. I am the guy. Like, I can't like go to a call and be like, someone call an ambulance, because like I am the ambulance.
Right. That's true.
And it's like, and honestly, even working basic trucks, I've learned so much about just riding on a basic rig, just like having that discernment, and it's tough. Like, you really question it afterwards. You're like, did I make the right call? What went well? And like, is this my fault? And then I have to come to terms, like, I did my best in that very moment. Hindsight's 20/20, but I just gotta move on. Especially if somebody is a perfectionist. I'm literally a perfectionist. Like, if I don't get an A in my class, like, I think I'm like, you know, naturally like failing. Oh, that EMS, that threw that right out the window. Like, I just accept my mistakes.
Well, I think that's you've kind of talked about that before too. Like the expectation not being, I'm going in fixing everything. I'm going in and responding and doing what I can do.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Is
you know,
can do what you can
don't put that pressure on yourself, you know, because you've done with excellence each stage, and I see that in you now. The way that you are fully engaged and fully taking ownership of everything that you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
The questions that you have and how you're rolling, you know, and you're asking Jim and all this stuff, that displays excellence. That's not pride. That's just navigating it as you go, and that's all you. I mean, you're right. That's all you can do.
Everybody had to do it.
You're doing an incredible job.
I appreciate that. Literally, I think I took my. It was crazy because I did clinicals, and then literally like in the middle of my clinicals, I found out like my aunt passed away. That was super tough. And like it was November, so like Kelly, we were all like, we're moving to this apartment, we're moving all of our stuff, getting ready for the wedding. Literally, I take my final for the course like 2 days before my wedding, and then like, or no, it was the day before. And the next day I like get married, and then go on the honeymoon, come back, I take the national registry, and then we've been married for like 2 weeks, and then boom, I start like EMS, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Now I'm like, now I'm like this husband, but also at the same time I have all these new questions, and everything I thought I knew is completely out the door. Throw that in the garbage, and you're like, then you get like this weird bitterness, and you're like, what should I think? And I'm just like,
Yeah.
How do I perceive the world in the most accurate way that I can without wanting to like be angry? You know, so tough. Especially as a newlywed too. Like Kelly's been great, and like has really helped.
Does she have questions and stuff like that?
What's that?
Does she have questions?
No, she's like, I totally get it. Like or like as far as like, she's like, I'll never understand fully what you're going through, but like I definitely don't think you're crazy, which is, even simple stuff like that is like, is super reassuring.
Well, kind of what you, Pastor Carl, talked about before, like in ministry, they're kind of the grief mops on the other side. So I think that in some ways, Kelly kind of has a really important perspective.
The similarities that you guys will find as your marriage goes and as you work through this stuff together, the similarities between like doing EMS and doing ministry are crazy. And just like same thing. Like we've had conversations before with the pastors where it'd be like the complaints that come up.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, you're like, were you here for the message? I mean, whoa. Like, what happened? Like, literally the message this week answers all those questions there, Hoss. You know what I mean?
Take another round through that.
Run the podcast version.
Yeah, one more time.
Get back with us. But like, it's.
Well, even on one side, like an example of you responded to, you know, the family situation, and Kelly could potentially be ministering to the kid of that family that's happening with, you know, like just the idea that there's so many things.
I think for me, I've learned that like, man, like the human body, one, is super weird and complex, and two, like so many things can go wrong, and three, like, man, like there is so much to medicine that you don't know what you don't know until like you get exposed to it. Like, you know, I'm like,
you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, like you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And like,
well, there's still stuff that we don't know.
And there's still stuff we don't know.
I mean, the 90s, they finally were able to do brain scans and see how the brain responds under different things and trauma and all this stuff, and how it heals and so we're still learning so much, you know.
I did this too to like, you know, work on the weekends, but too like there's a lot of logistical reasons, and also I was like, I want the skill to like my heart is breaking more than I realized it ever would going into this field, because I went in and I was like, I want to deal with, there's a lot of intrinsic things that I wanted to get out of it. Like I wanted, like if somebody's dying at my operating table or something's going wrong, like I already have that pressure and what that is like way back when, so like when I get there, it's already second nature. But to see the state of like people's lives and like how I live, and it's just like, I literally feels like, man, I'm going to a different country for work, and I come home and it's like, it's like I literally feel like I just like went on a plane ride, like, but I just drove like down, you know, I-75 for a little bit and just hopped off an exit. It's like, it's crazy.
I understand.
It's so weird.
It's exactly how it is.
The first couple shifts, I'm like, I walked into my house and I was like, oh, back to reality, and then I was like,
wait, which one?
Yeah, which reality? It's like living a double life.
Is this fake, or is this like, or
you're Batman now?
Am I the reality?
You've got two lives now.
Yeah. But how do you disciple people, and like I'm sure there's a lot of questions that you've had and you had to deal with through the years, and especially running a house church, it's like, dude, how do you just stay so solid, and like, is it I know you, like, in general, Jim Parkin's just like, yeah, man, easygoing guy, like,
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, it's whatever, you know. But
so,
like,
he's got his Vans and his baseball cap. He looks super square when he's doing security at the church, you know, like, yeah.
It's like, how do you stay solid for real though?
Well, strategically, I keep myself around like the veteran community and the first responder community. And so that it's been super helpful to me that, like, it's wild because you know how with the shift schedules and stuff like that I literally spend more time with my partner than I do with my family.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And now, like, we do church together at my house, so it's even more time spent with that dude than.
Oh, he goes to. I did not know that.
So that's like when we went there for our interviews and stuff, we told him, like, we didn't actually interview together, but we told them we'll be interviewing together. We do everything together. We even do church together. We do everything as a crew.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is just keeping my circle small, just keeping within the people who give me the grace to flip out, you know.
Oh, sorry.
Like early on, going here, and probably in a season that I wasn't really quite ready to lead. Back in the day when we called it life group, I was leading a life group, and I had come off a call. It wasn't necessarily. Well, it's gonna sound worse than it was. But basically, this person's all of their blood was out of them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything traumatic. It was just like a GI bleed or something of that nature. Okay. But it was gross and it looked horrible and it took a long time. And back then, I was still trying to figure out that kind of like you're doing, the weird double life spatial awareness trick. And so I was already freaked out going to the call because I was going to be late for life group and I have to lead it and all the things. And then all this stuff goes down. And I get there and everybody's like literally standing in my kitchen. And I walk in and someone actually clapped at me. Good, we've been waiting for you to be here so we can pray so we can eat.
Oh, dude, I
was angry, slid into a bit of a panic attack. Unfortunately, Jason Hiddle was there and just instantly stepped in and but I needed some space, I needed some time and stuff like that. So those things will happen, but now it's just because the people I'm around already know. We've known Chandler so long now, they know. They if I need to be freaked out, then it's whatever. But the long, to make a long story even longer, it's just I've created circles of people who understand.
So when is your house show? You said Monday nights, right?
Yep, Monday nights.
Starting 6. In the fall, because like I said, I'm going to school literally Monday through Fridays and pulling 24s on every Saturday. So literally I can't go to church. I'm literally gonna be working morning shift to morning shift, and then coming home when church starts. That's when I'll be sleeping.
Right.
And so and then I need that day to kind of catch up on sleep, and then just so I can go to school Monday through Friday and then work 24.
Right.
And I think I have my school because what time is it in the evening?
6 o'clock at night.
I have I'm trying to think my last class. Okay, sweet. So my last class on Monday is I have a bio lab. It's at 4:50. Mm-hmm. It ends at 4:50. So then that would be perfect.
Yeah.
So
and they usually do food. Sometimes they do smoked mac and cheese or something.
Yeah, we cook.
Tacos and soup and stuff.
The idea is that since we're going to be eating dinner around then anyway, just making myself for everybody. So speaking of that, a little plug. So what we're going to be doing this next season is really investing a lot of the Lighthouse Experiment treasure into MMR because the culture there is more accepting of this than my last agency. So as a kickoff to this on 4th of July in the morning, super early, my partner and I are going to make a bunch of breakfast burritos and bring them up there for people.
Oh, heck yeah.
That'll be awesome.
And then we'll do stuff going on from there. But
that would be really cool.
I think a couple people from MMR actually I invited. I think they're coming to church this Sunday.
That's cool.
And so I was like, look,
that's cool.
I had a partner who man, I've been looking for a church, and I'm like, dude, just
check it out.
Check it out, dude. And so I think I got 2 people.
Got a hard bass line and flashing lights that'll remind you of a night shift. But
it was just really awesome just to have those conversations and asking
that's
people
fair.
who don't
That's
know.
fair.
Right.
How I deal with stuff people who don't know Jesus. It's I've literally asked them how do you do this long term, like, what is your strategy? What do you like? And it's cool to see everybody's different perspectives. Like, and I guess some partners are really accepting, and some partners are like, they're almost like they're like accepting of it, but it's like that's such a weird question because like nobody asks like that question. It's just like
right. And that's been kind of the problem. And we're seeing in the past couple of years lots of suicide in the first responder community, and that's why, because no one ever talks about that. No one ever says like, how do you download some of this stuff? I do it by doing a podcast and that kind of stuff, but there's people that fully don't have any way to offload any of this stuff, other than to party, and that ends up horrible. So,
and it really doesn't help you decompress anything.
No.
It's been nice to have like at least somebody like you like in the field, because like I can't imagine even like the little conversations we have had.
Right.
Just like, hey, you're not crazy. I've done this. Like,
yes.
For 20 years, like, it's just like
18.
Sorry, 18 years. 18 years.
I guess we can round up. I don't mind. But
round up.
Sorry.
It's fun though, because then even when I ran into you and stuff, you'll like share and talk about it, and it's really cool.
Yeah,
because there's such a grace that all these guys have given us. It's really treasured. It's really respected and appreciated, because kind of going back to what you said, you don't know if you don't know. You don't know if you've seen it. And so there are moments that people are going to say really dumb stuff because you don't know.
Yeah.
And there have been so many gracious moments where you and Carrie or Leanne or or whoever have said, well, they had a helpful conversation about it instead of just...
Yes. It's just funny because I always think about that same time. So listen, man. So when it was first like lockdowns, like early COVID, like March to June 2020 COVID. So like all the stuff was happening at once. Like I think this was even further into it than that, because this is post George Floyd had happened. So now all the protests and all the things all the stuff is happening.
It was past it enough that you were like back in you would come over to our house. We had something together.
Right.
And everybody come over to our house.
Yeah,
so it was enough months beyond that.
So we were kind of doing that stuff again. But there's still like, should you wear a mask? Should you not?
Oh, still the awkward phase.
All the stuff. And I came in.
What are my rights? What should I do as a citizen, as a mom? Like what?
All right. And I was like, what I don't want to do is keep having the same 5 conversations. And Ashley's response to that, dude, was, just tell me then, should we wear a mask when we go out? I was like, yeah, do what you want to do.
Do what you want to do.
That was such a weird time because of the messaging, and that was it. I talk to people now that we kind of light at the end of the tunnel a little bit. Just, I think the horrible messaging to begin with, and then it went like everything does, went full political, but like the physics behind why you would wear a mask in a situation like this were spot on. The physics of the mask and the 6-foot rule is science. It makes perfect, simple math sense. But there was so much flipping and flopping and opinions and people who don't know like diddly about medicine putting their 2 cents in, and then all the socials are blowing up.
It's hilarious.
And it just like the filter of that, kind of I think that's what turned us into being to where it was hard to catch up with and keep up with, But like, so when people would ask me early on about that, like, why a mask, why 6 feet? I'm like, well, okay, because when you cough, the average cough or sneeze travels 4 feet. So 6 feet keeps you outside that window. So the mask, if you're going to be up close talking, because it's going to help keep those particles in. But my rights. Like, okay, dude.
That's like another thing too. Like because we already know what type, like this side that most of the people at our church kind of affiliate with, and it's just like, bro, like, and that's fine. But and like, there's a lot of, I just think it's genuine ignorance. Like, and they have no, like, I don't know. It's just, it gets frustrating sometimes. A lot of times, even my own family, like not my immediate family, but like people that I'm really close with, they just say some dumb things, and I'm just like,
yeah. And that's it, man. Like,
pick your battles.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even at this point, because I went through a time when I would be ready to fight that fight, but it's whatever. I personally am, like most veterans, what we like to call politically homeless. So I just whatever. There's such a disconnect between that space on the East Coast and actual Americans. So it doesn't even matter really, but it can put a damper on trying to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Another thing is like, what are actual storms of life? Because then like I can sit, like my life is super good, and there's a lot of I thought were storms.
I love this kid.
Like
theology is about to get there.
Like what I thought were storms in my life, I look back now and I'm like, wow.
Or did you just level up?
That was
leveled up.
You just leveled up, homie.
Because like I don't have maggots on me. I have good food and I have clean water and I have shoes that go on my feet. I can take my wife out on a date, and I don't live in a house that has broken windows and the roof is caving in.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, dude,
right, man, that's a lot. Is
but
just
then the Bible
up
talks
and
about is not life more than what we're gonna wear and what we're gonna eat. But that man shouldn't live by bread alone, but every word. So yeah, all those physical needs are important and do matter and do affect our seasons. But God always wants good with the heart. So now what you see and what you're experiencing and his heart in you now, like, it's all the levels. It's not just, you know, it's how we navigate those seasons. Because I might go through a season that has A, B, or C in it and learn faithfulness or learn courage or something in a different capacity, whereas it might trigger that type of season for somebody learning those skills would require a different event.
And it's not like for me I get mad at other people. It's more like I'm in a season where I'm kind of mad at myself for like thinking that my life was hard at certain times, and I'm like having grace. Like I look back and I'm like, dude, like I know nothing. Like I thought I knew something. I know nothing. Like I don't know.
Yeah, that's life. That's just coming up and just being in. Hey, can't be down on yourself for that.
And also, as a parent, I would take my 7-year-old to most of those calls. So, you know, as a parent, I feel like your parents have done a pretty good job.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so, you know, I don't know. I don't think you need to really question, like, where you've come from so much, as it gives you a solid ground to take your next step from, you know?
Yeah, and I love that.
And it's obviously making you so much more compassionate and thoughtful about all of it, too.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing is having, like, I have such a passion for these people and in medicine, but like also I get angry, and it's like sometimes I get confused with like passion and anger, but also hurt at the same time, and it's like it's all in this weird like jar of emotion, and I'm just like, ugh. Like sometimes I just come home, I take my boots off, or sometimes I'll sit in before I come into the house, I just sit in my car for like 10-15 minutes. After even a 30-minute drive home, I'm just like, I had a weird day and I don't know what to feel. I'm just gonna like let this out right here, and as soon as I turn the car off, back to being a husband.
Right.
You know, it's tough, dude.
You know, it reminds me of, remember when we had Adam Myers on?
Yeah. And
he was trying to separate his military life and reassimilate to being civilian Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were talking, it was really cool. He kind of had this epiphany of like, oh wait, I don't need to like turn back into civilian Adam. I can take the tools that I've taken.
Right.
And so I think that, you know, keep taking what you're building. It's building your capacity, it's building your resiliency, and I believe it makes you a better friend, a better husband, a better person in our community because of your willingness to be excellent in what you're doing.
Yeah, I feel
you're doing great.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like I just feel like with that imposter syndrome, it's like I'm brand new, like I haven't scratched even the surface of this, and it's just like, man, like I have sincere, deep appreciation for people like Jim, or people who've been in it for like 5 years, 10 years. It's just like, wow, like that is incredible. Like that is, And I know that one day when I'm when I'm a doctor, I'm literally gonna I just have such a soft spot in my heart for EMS, and it's just it's the two ends of the healthcare industry. And I feel like they're just so vastly different. Some of the doctors have no idea what EMS is like, and it's just I feel like there's this discrepancy within different healthcare fields, even within healthcare systems. I don't know. Maybe Flint's just a different beast. I don't know. Maybe
Flint
that's
is like its own country.
Yeah, the country of Flint.
But it's But the thing is too. Remember, I was new once too. I had to start from not knowing anything about anything. Think it was okay to put some paddles on someone about to shock them and standing in water on a full arrest. I didn't know. I was, all this stuff is just nearly 2 decades of
knowledge
of picking stuff up along the way.
Yeah.
So sounds like everyone's gone inside.
We'll start wrapping it up.
We get this for the end of the evening wrap up.
I think they're gonna do announcements and giveaways and stuff like that. I know my son was a little bummed that apparently the first letter of somebody's name last night was an I, and he got all excited and it wasn't. He's like, I didn't win anything tonight, so maybe my buddy will win something tonight.
I love that kid.
It's wild cool. How upset they get when they don't win.
I know.
Anyway, well,
this was really cool. I'm really glad that we sat outside and did this. And
this is our first live in-person face-to-face episode in a couple years.
Since COVID.
Wow, that's crazy. All right.
That's wild. I will just say, kind of closing thoughts, this was really good for my soul this week to sit on my community church grounds and stuff and hang out. Just, it's a good perspective. It's good to talk about all of this life stuff. And
Thanks for letting me walk on, dude.
Literally walked on the show. I love it.
Show, guys.
It was not planned for me to be here. I just kind of was like, I want to watch you guys. And I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Come hang out with us.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this is a good episode. You guys are going to drive to Florida. I'm sorry that I'm laughing near you, not at you or with you. Near you.
I've had to tell people I know I'm not crazy. I know I've planned this and this and this, and now I'm just gonna go with the flow of what Convoy Hope of Leader would say. It's just make your best plan, and that's all I can do. And I'll be able to look back and be like, hey, remember that one time I drove all my children across the country, but not across, but across,
Yep.
It's all good. I'm building resiliency, Jim.
Yeah, you are. All right, well, we'll close it out with that. Thanks for Austin for jumping on with us. Thank you, Kingdom Builders and Freedom Center Church, for your continued love and support. And your kids can still come, right? If you hear this on Thursday. Yeah. You know what? No. Because by that time, really, why bother? But whatever. Scratch that whole thing. Don't bring them on Thursday for the first night.
Find another VBS in the area.
That's the thing, man. You can get your kids. Listen. You can put your kids in all of them. Run the whole circuit for the summer. That's what we used to do. Our kids are a little older now, so it doesn't really make logistical sense. But back in the day, we would do the whole circuit, every church, every VBS, for a month and a half, date nights. I'm telling you what. Word. All right. See you next time.